tell you guys. 3. Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to Libra Views. I'm Charlene. Please subscribe to my channel and like this video. No, girl, I just got all 4 of my wisdom teeth removed yesterday. So I can't really open my mouth that wide, and I have stitches like all in my mouth. So I may not talk as explosive as I usually do or whatever. But that's just because my teeth is wired the fuck up. I just felt obligated. I need to come on here and make this video about basketball wives because I'm highly upset and I'm irritated by the shit, okay, at this point. I don't really give a damn about basketball wives. I don't care about Phoebe getting COVID. I don't care about Lamar Odom's baby mama talking about not getting no money. Like I said in my last video, Khloe Kardashian and the Kardashians done fucked Lamar Odom's story the hell out. Child, we done knew about the best friend. We knew about the daddy. We knew about the kids, the ex-wife. Child, we do not give a fuck about no goddamn Lamar Odom. If that's all she gonna be talking about. You know, I don't care about Malaysia and Jackie. So really, I'm here to talk about the colorism and this whole OG, Evelyn, Shawnee, and now, you know, Kristen, Jackie, and all these people. So let's get into it. So Kristen wants to meet up with OG. So in the midst of the episode, she said that she was willing and wanted to link up with OG. I'm pretty sure that was the producer putting that situation together. But nonetheless, you know, Kristen said she wanted to speak to OG. They had a little scene where Evelyn starts to address OG and says that OG made claims about her because OG wanted 15 minutes of fame, and says that OG made up the things that she was saying. From what I understand, OG said that Evelyn was not black, so she was not supposed to be using the N-word. She said that, you know, she was a colorist because the way that she was treated and made to seem so aggressive, even though she's done worse. And she's kind of perpetuated this mean girl, I'm better than you, I look better than you, my ex-husband wouldn't dare want you, ugly, dirty. That's not made up. That's what we as the viewers saw. We've never seen you address anybody else as dirty on the show. And we already know that Africans are known for the African beauty scratchers, and to, you know, they say they smell and wear sandals, and you know, a lot of the rumors and the stereotypes is that African people are dirty. I'm not saying it's true, but that's a stereotype. That seemed to be only a name that that Evelyn decided to call OG. So this is not stuff that's made up. The fact that you are not a black woman is not made up. The fact that people that are not African Americans, and even some African Americans, shouldn't use the N-word, yet you do as a non-black woman, that's not made up. Now, her saying that she feels as though you're a racist and a colorist, that's her opinion. And that's something that, you know, she has a right to say. But OG didn't make up anything that we saw on that show. We've seen it with our own eyes, Evelyn. You know, and Evelyn used to be my favorite. I mean, I purchased her earrings at one point. I purchased one of her makeup palettes back in the day. You know, so it's not like I'm like, oh, well, I'm a black woman, so it's fuck Evelyn. I always liked Evelyn. I still kind of like Evelyn. I think, you know, she's an entertaining person. She's funny, and I think without the camera, she's probably a really cool person to hang out with and link up with, as well as OG. But what I find interesting is that, you know, you want to say that she posted up your 81-year-old grandfather to basically prove the point that you're not black, which is why you shouldn't be going around calling black people the N-word. You said how that was so despicable, this, that, the third. And my whole thing is, well, if you black, Evelyn, why don't you post your ancestry? Danny Lay did it. Danny Lay, she posted her ancestry. If you are so disgusted that she with this and say she's too light-skinned, this and the third, Evelyn, how come you haven't posted your ancestry? I can post mine. I'm 85% West African. I can post mine. I'm a black woman. What are you? Why you just don't post your thing and say there's no way I can be racist because, or colorist because my family is African American. I am African American myself, but you can't do that because you're not a black woman, Evelyn, and that's okay. What I noticed and I think is mighty funny is that last season, she was talking about how she was Afro-Latina, her children was black, Afro-Latina, but she ain't said that shit this season. Because Evelyn, you was not black. Just because you got 18% African blood in you, do not make you black. You got some black in you, but you're not a black woman. Like, for instance, like I just said, I'm 85% West African and I'm about 15% English. Does that make me a white woman? So just because you have some traces of African blood and ancestry in you that probably go back generations and generations, doesn't mean that you are a black woman. I think it's mighty funny that now you don't say you're Afro-Latina or that you're black. You always say that your kids is black. And that's a conversation that I would like to break down because Shanice looks like a multiracial woman. Gorgeous. But she does not look like a black woman. And her dad does not look like a black man. That looks like a multiracial man who got with a multi-race Latina and had a multi-race child. Okay? Now that son, he looks, mixed, whatever, but more black than Shanice. But girl, you ain't got no kids like this. They're black people, black. But nonetheless, I'm off that point. Shawnee admits that, there have been times where she has favored Evelyn because they're friends, not necessarily because she's light-skinned or Puerto Rican or whatever. And I think that was big of Shawnee to kind of point that out. It wasn't nothing we ain't already know. But I was happy that Shawnee at least admitted that. Kristen and OG finally meet up. So they had that talk. Evelyn addresses, OG posting the grandfather and how that was disrespectful and how OG has made all these things up. Kristen is now making her way over to the second house to meet her with OG. Kristen says that OG and her have the same skin tone. Yes, Kristen and OG are on the darker spectrum of skin tone. Okay? But you're not going to tell me that when people, especially people who could be colorist, could look at somebody like Kristen and look at somebody like OG and not go towards Kristen. Let me tell you something. People gravitate towards things that they can relate to. Okay? Right, wrong, or indifferent. I know that we're all supposed to see each other as one, and skin color is not supposed to matter, and hair texture is not supposed to matter, and where you're from is not supposed to matter. But at the end of the day, it does. I probably would relate more to a person from Baltimore, which is where I live at, more than I could relate to somebody that's from Compton. We probably could get along, but I probably relate more and I'm hear more with a DMV chick more so than a chick from Houston. It just is what it is in every aspect. Do you not think that Evelyn relates more to the aesthetic of a Kristen over the aesthetic of an OG? I'm tired of all this stupid bullshit going on. Okay? Even they said, well, Jen is a darker skinned girl. Jen is a darker skinned girl, but let not the congregation forget. Jen's mother is a biracial woman. Jen's grandmother is white. So although Jen may be of a darker hue similar to OG, she does have white people and whiteness in close proximity in her family. OG does not. She's pure African from Nigeria. So again, you don't see how somebody who is colorists, whether they know that they are consciously or subconsciously. You cannot tell me that somebody who is a colorist cannot relate to somebody with the aesthetic, an aesthetic of a Kristen with curly, flowy, locky, soft, moist hair, a narrow face, maybe even the way that she talks, you know what I mean, and her demeanor and her style. Somebody that's a colorist would migrate to someone like Kristen more than they would somebody like OG. Same with Jennifer. You don't think somebody that's a colorist would relate to somebody who has whiteness and a very close proximity to the... Jen's mom is half white. And I'll never forget that one episode on Basketball Wives. It was a very small clip. But Evelyn was like, something. But you ain't got to worry about that. You got good hair. She said that to Jen. She said, I don't know what they was talking about. It was one of the episodes. But she said, something, because you got good hair. So when you say... oh, well, we're the same color. Like, what's the difference? It is a difference. And just because you may have a similar hue, like, for instance, I'm 85% West. I'm an African. I'm a black woman. You don't think that there's people... let me just say this. There's a girl who I know whose mother is white and father is black. She's biracial. Both of my parents are black. In high school... me and this girl were the same complexion. She was actually darker than me at times because she played sports. I mean, I played sports too, but when we both got our tans in the summer, I mean, she would come back to school and even be darker than me, and her mother was white. We were like the same complexion, honestly probably darker. But you could look at her and tell that she, whether it was from the hair or from the features, although we had the same skin tone. We had the same skin tone. They could look at the girl I went to high school with and middle school with and be like, okay, well, it's something a little bit mixed up in there. And so when Kristen brought up the thing, oh, we're the same skin tone, yes, but featurism, hair texture, the whole aesthetic, that does play a part in it. Okay? Now, if Kristen was also an African from Cameroon, or if Kristen was also, or Jen was also a pure-blooded African from Kenya, and they gravitated more towards Kristen and OG, then that argument wouldn't be valid. You guys are Americanized women with Western features, soft hair, and white people in your immediate family. Stop. OG brings up featurism, and I just talked about that. But, you know, Kristen said, nah, like, what? I didn't even know that. I just hate when people act dumb. I just hate people that act so smart about certain shit, but when it comes to certain shit, they want to act so fucking dumb. I hate that. It's like, if you're going to play dumb all the way across the board. If you're going to be smart, play smart all the way across the board. But don't act like you know for a fact and you know so much and all this and all that, got so much to say. But when shit's brought up, you're like, what? I didn't know I didn't know featurism was in it. You ain't know featurism had a part in it, Kristen. What do you know? Let's talk about what Kristen do know. Because it seemed like you know everything else, but don't know nothing what the fuck OG is saying. What do you know, Kristen? OG then goes on and brings up the whole text message situation that happened between OG and Evelyn. I really didn't like how OG orchestrated herself in this particular point because I feel like the point got lost. OG basically was like, you know, I brought text messages, she brought text messages, but you chose the lighter side. Wrong approach. What you should have said, OG, was Evelyn, who's a light-skinned Puerto Rican girl, brought printed text messages and a pointer and was pointing out intimate details of a so-called conversation I was having with someone. Embarrassing me, confronting me, catching me off guard. And Kristen, you thought that was hilarious. But when OG did the same thing and got her text messages, that was disturbing. Why is it that Evelyn can print out text messages, bring them to the group, embarrass this girl in front of everybody in the group and soon to be the world. Bring a pointer, put her glasses on, and really try to expose this girl. But when OG do this, and that's hilarious, that's cute, that's funny. But when OG does the same thing, it's disturbing. It's harsh. It's brutal. That's colorism. When somebody that's light-skinned does the same exact thing as someone who's dark-skinned, yet the dark-skinned one is put down, disturbed, aggressive, but the lighter one is hilarious and flowy and fun, that's colorism. It's the same way. It's the same thing when the Kardashians wear braids when the bitch been sitting in the goddamn kitchen since 94, getting braids and hot combs put to my head. But that's ghetto, that's hood, that's cheap, that's ghetto chic. But when the Kardashians get cornrows, that look a mess, mind you. I'm like, who the fuck was doing their cornrows? But when the Kardashians get cornrows, it's elegant, it's style, it's class. That's colorism. So I didn't like how OG or how, the black girls who've been twerking and NOLA and doing the Dutty Wine at the balls and at the block parties and shit since the 60s and the 70s. We've been twerking since the 99 and 2000s. It was ghetto, dirty ass hoes. But now all these white hoes that want to get bodies like black girls is doing it. It's sexy, it's a trend. That's what OG was trying to say. I didn't like how she said, well, you chose the lighter skin side. Now that within itself is colorism. But what you should have said was, when the light-skinned person did it, it was funny. It was this. It was light, whatever. But when the dark-skinned person does it, it's aggressive and it's disturbing and it's this. That's colorism, mama. So then Jackie chimes in. I'm done with Jackie. So then Jackie chimes in and she says, well, I think we've all been called crazy. I think we've all been called aggressive, etc., etc. Jackie, let me get you all the way together real quick. Jackie, it has been going around since the 90s that your ass is goddamn crazy. Okay? And aggressive. And stuck up Doug's ass. You've been married to the nigga. Y'all had 20 plus different weddings. Everybody knows that you crazy. Everybody know you aggressive. Everybody knows something's fucking wrong with your ass. That ain't nothing new. So for you to happen to be like, well, what they did to OG, it happened to me. I remember Shawnee said that shit when you first got on the episode that your ass was crazy and aggressive and weird. There has been proof and sentiments in a timeline since the fucking 90s of how crazy and aggressive you are, Jackie. Your own daughter came out and wrote a book about how fucking crazy and aggressive you are. Your light-skinned daughter came out and said how aggressive and crazy and motherfucking colorist your ass was. It has been a timeline of years proving that you are that which those girls are calling you. That has been a running theme that crazy Jackie is aggressive. You was just picking up chairs, trying to throw it at Malaysia and her family 2 years ago at the ring. Bitch, you have proven since the 90s that you are crazy as all hell. So the girls calling you that is not a comparison to OG, who's been on the show for 2 or 3 years, who has not put her hands on anybody. We do not know about any family history. We have not known about no aggression from the 90s. We do not know about none of that. She never put her hands on nobody. She never threw nothing at nobody. She never picked up no chair. She never threw a table. She never done nothing. For you to be like, well, that happened to me too. Jackie, that's been your reputation. They've been calling you crazy since the fucking 90s. You cannot compare what's going on with OG with them calling your ass crazy. Bitch, you've been crazy and aggressive and weird and psycho since the 90s. And the girls been saying that. It's not the same with what's going on with OG. Let me put this back. I need to go get me another one. So then Kristen brings up the whole situation about OG saying that she would break her jaw. But didn't Evelyn say she was going to kill Jen?
Bitch, you want to move in. Bitch, you want to
Who the are you to think you're better than anybody? I am going to kill this bitch.
No. Oh my God.
Remember when Evelyn was jumping across tables, trying to pick up the branch to try to get at Evelyn, and then her homegirl Naya went around the table and smacked the shit out of Jen, and she said, I will fucking kill. She said, I want to kill you. So which one would you rather be? Sitting them in the house with a broken jaw? Or 6 feet under tap dancing with James Brown? I just want to know. Miss me with it, Kristen. He said you ready to break my jaw. Miss me with it, girl. So then Kristen goes back to the girls. And of course, when she goes back to the girls, she makes it seem as though, OG, now it's not colorism. Now it's futurism. And she didn't say how she felt. But she said what she experienced. Not taking it seriously. Clear. Excuse me. Clearly trying to go back to the girls and try to make OG seem like whatever. When Kristen said that Jen brought up the whole table throwing situation between her and Malaysia, aka LaQuisha. What's the Malaysia real name? LaQuisha, LaQuetta, LaQuina, Latoya? Ghetto hoe. But when Kristen said that Jen, at the meeting she just had brought up the fact that Malaysia had threw a table at her, Malaysia said, again? Well, y'all keep bringing up what the fuck OG did. Again. Y'all didn't let her sit at the reunion with y'all from something that was taped a year prior because y'all kept bringing up the fact that she was so aggressive. Again. So why is that you can bring up OG and call her whatever, whenever the fuck you want, again. But when Jen do it, it's like, again. She's bringing, yeah, bitch! Girl. These hoes on Basketball Wives, I'm probably not even going to do any more reviews beyond this. I just wanted to come on and talk about this colorism. Jackie, shut your motherfucking ass up, bitch. You been crazy. Kristen, sit down. Because you clearly, you know so much, but don't know nothing. And OG, when you are coming on, now I don't know what was cut out. I know editing can be a motherfucker. But from what we're seeing, OG, you need to fix up your verbiage because it's not coming out right. I'm not saying our OG's dumb or anything. She's clearly comes off as very smart, very educated. She speaks very well. She's very cultured. She's, so I'm not saying whatever, but sometimes when she says stuff, it doesn't come off as hard hitting as it needs to fucking come off. Like how I broke down the whole situation about the text message. And from what we saw, she said, well, you chose the lighter side. Wrong way to go. You should have, again, perpetually break down the colorism aspect in each situation. Don't say, oh, you didn't choose the dark-skinned person's side. No, say you chose the light-skinned person's side by basically putting both of our actions, which were the same. And Evelyn was kind of worse because she went and printed it out and reached out to Chad and did all this. But you're basically saying the two things that we both did, this one was better than this one. That's what you really should have said. I mean, so, OG, get your points together when you're addressing the girls. But other than that, I'm done. I'm done. I don't think I'm going to be reviewing Housewives. I don't give a fuck about Lamar Odom. I don't give a fuck about Evelyn and the Boudet and the Badam. I don't give a fuck about Shawnee and her kids living in Houston and one person going to college here, one person. We know that that's usually what happens when kids get an adult, become an adult. They branch off and do their own thing. I don't give a fuck about Jackie and Malaysia, and they've been fucking falling out since 2012. So that's, I don't know. But this colorism thing, I'm here to talk about it. So please, before you exit, like this video, subscribe to this video, share it on social media, comment, let me know what you think. If you agree with what the fuck I'm saying, I'm sorry, my mouth is swollen and I can't really talk and get into how I want to. But thank you for tuning in, and until next time, deuces.